So there's different ways of going about it. That's the way I went about it. And also when you move in, you can do it up. You can get a valuation when you move out. If you do go to another owner-occupier residence, then that's your benchmark because you've moved out at that stage or another owner-occupier, but you've increased that value by renovating it throughout that 1 to 2 years. So the government will then look at that. Say if you were to sell it in the future, they'd look at, well, what was the value of it when it stopped being your principal place of residence, and you only pay the capital gains tax on that balance. But I'm not an accountant. This is just all general stuff.
And check your state and the legislation in your state for stamp duties and capital gains tax can be the same everywhere, but first homeowners grant and whatnot. So I think it's a very interesting one. You got your emotions and your investor hats both filled up in that one acquisition, and I don't know. It depends on everybody who's listening and what's super important to them. I think I as I get older, I see more value. I see a lot of value in leaning into what I love and what I'm emotional about in terms of living, because I know that I'm going to be so grateful for where I live, regardless of the price. There's going to be a sliding scale, right? Say for example, if I want to rent somewhere or buy somewhere, it's going to be close to the beach, and it's not going to be. Sometimes it might not be the best financial decision, but it's going to make me feel absolutely amazing most days because I'll walk across the road from the beach. Like just the other day, I was like walking across the road from the beach. I'm like, damn, I live in a good spot, and I pay for it, right? Whereas I could live somewhere else and pay less. So I think that I'm very grateful for, leaning into investing in where I want to live with my emotions and take that sacrifice financially. But also sometimes I think it could be good the other way around, where you're like, all right, cool, we're having a family and we want to make sure they're in a good location, but we also want to make sure we can afford to give them the things they need and support them in the way they want, and not go and try and buy like this lavish home and be in an amazing amount of debt that makes you feel like you're always trying to keep your head above water.
Yeah, so it's just it's an individual person, like it's their own decision, right? So this is it's actually a big topic that everyone is always thinking whenever they sell that deposit. They spend pretty much their whole life up until that point saving the $100,000 or $200,000 required to put into a deposit. In Sydney, you're probably looking at $300,000. Depends on what you're looking for. But
even if you get to 100K, congrats! Like it's hard for a lot of people. It's hard to save 100K. It's really
but it's rewarding when you sit there and you see it. But anyway, so you've got to just take into account what really fills you up, as you say, like that emotional side of it. What I say to people is, where are you in your life cycle at this point in time? There's people that are single and they haven't met their future life partner. They've got a lot of aspirations to go travel and do all that. And for people like that, it could be that rent vesting is a better option. You forgo those little benefits from the government up front, but what we're seeing now, especially in Queensland, that stamp duty threshold of $550,000 doesn't get you much. Whereas obviously a few years ago it did, and that was sort of like on that cusp there. And then in Sydney it's obviously different too. They've gone up to $1.5 million now. And that sounds like a lot compared to here, but trust me, I buy property in Sydney and it's bloody hard to get anything. And there's such competition now. It's basically pushed that barrier from those who are playing in that $1 to $1.5 million range. There's just so much competition. So prices have actually increased dramatically just through that little range, because all the first homeowners are trying to get in there and they just want to get on the ladder.
Get in the game. So sacrificing some things financially to and also sacrificing some things time-wise and in so many areas, I think can be good for an owner-occupier. But then you move into the blend of what you did is buying based on it being a good capital return down in the future. And also you got some lifestyle, like some really amazing lifestyle benefits as well. So I guess everybody listening, like I'm trying to like frame it in a way like work out what you want and work out what's more important for you first, and then lean into trying to get more out of it through the investor side. If you're going to buy if you're going to buy as an owner occupier versus if you're going to buy just as an investor. Like for me, I put my hand up as an investor. Like I don't care where I buy. Like I don't care if I buy like some fibre house in the middle of nowhere.
I do. I don't want you spending too much on maintenance.
Yeah. Well, that's right. That's right. So, but if it's going to be like this insane yield, right, and the maintenance is like, okay, I've just factored that in part of my expenses, and maybe it's worth it if I've got.
Well, we'll have to look at the deal, mate.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a big debate, and that's obviously the topic of this podcast. It's owner, occupier, or investor. So you're hitting on some really good points, and going into the investment type of property. Yeah. And what makes a good investment grade property? There's a lot, pretty much everything that you're looking for in an owner occupier, but you're also looking for good cash flow, and we should all be looking for good capital growth. So when you are, and that's kind of like the spoiler alert for like the end of this podcast was just, you should always be looking for owner occupier locations, whether you want to be an owner occupier or investor, because the owner occupiers are the ones that drive the emotional ticket price whenever you choose to sell it.